This video is aimed at developers in organizations that use SQL Server reporting services who would like to incorporate reports created in SQL Server reporting services into an Alpha Anywhere project. So in order to use a report that was designed in SQL Server reporting services in an Alpha Anywhere project, it's necessary to first link the report into your Alpha Anywhere control panel. So you can see here we're at the control panel, and we'll go here and select the reports category, and then we'll go there and say new, and here we can either create new reports using the Alpha Anywhere report writer, or we can link in a SQL Server reporting services report. So I'm going to choose this option over here, and then I need to specify the connection string that allows me to connect to my SQL Server reporting server. So I'm going to go here and choose a connection string that was previously defined. So I'll go ahead there and click OK. And so now these are all of the reports in the SQL Server reporting server pointed to by this connection string. So I'm going to go here and choose say the invoice report and also the customer list report, and then click OK. And now basically Alpha Anywhere is going to link these reports in for me, and it's going to basically create an entry in the control panel for each report. So the entry in the control panel is just a file, and I can specify a prefix for the file, etc. So I'm going to go here and just accept all of the defaults, and you can see now that we have two new reports listed over here, and these reports now can be used in my project just like any other report that may have been created in the Alpha Anywhere report writer. So for example, I can apply security settings to this report. Say for example, maybe the invoice report should only be visible to people in the managers group, etc. So now that I've defined these links over here, and I can see that these are links to SQL Server reporting services because the string SSRS appears in the file name. Now that I've created these linked reports, I can use them in Action JavaScript just like any other Alpha Anywhere report. So let's go now and create a UX component that has a button that will print or preview one of these reports. So I'm going to go now to Web Components, click New, I'll choose a UX component, and we'll just basically start with a blank component. Then we'll go over here to Controls, Other Controls, and add a button, and we'll go here and say Show Report, and then we'll go and choose Action JavaScript here to define the action. So we'll double click on that, bring up Action JavaScript, we'll choose the Opener Report action, we'll select our report, and we'll just type in SSRS to filter, and we'll choose the customer report. We'll display it using the HTML format, and we'll display it in a pop-up window. So now we'll go ahead now and click OK. So Alpha Anywhere generates all the JavaScript code necessary. We'll go now and I'll save our component, say UX1, we'll pre-render it, and now we'll go ahead now and run it. So let's switch over to working preview mode now, and then tap on the button to run the report, and you can see now here's the report from SQL Server reporting services that has been generated, and it's just like any other Alpha Anywhere report. I've got my options here to export this report as a PDF, as an Excel, or as a Word document. So as you can see, linking in a report that was created in SQL Server reporting services is very easy, but it's necessary first to create a connection string that points to your SQL Server report. So let's go now and see how that was defined. So we'll go now to the Tools menu, and you can see right here on the Tools menu is an option to create connection strings to your SQL Server reporting server. Thanks very much for watching. In this video, we'll discuss how you can use reports from SQL Server reporting services that require input parameters when the report is printed. So in a previous video, we showed how we were able to link reports from SQL Server reporting services and add them to an Alpha Anywhere web project. So you can see here we have two reports that are linked, and this report, invoice.ssrs, requires an input parameter. So if I go here and right click and say preview report, you can see that because this report requires an input parameter, I get prompted here for the customer ID, and I can go there and type in ALF key, and then the report will be previewed for me over here. So you can see we're previewing the report for ALF key. So this report takes an input parameter. So let's go now and create a UX component that's going to print out this report. So we'll go here, we'll go back to this component over here, and we'll add another button now to print that report. But since this report takes an input parameter, let's go over here to data controls, and we'll type over here customer ID, and then click OK, and then we'll go and put a button on. So we'll go here to buttons, and we'll say this button has its text will be print invoice report, and then we'll double click to bring up Action JavaScript. We'll choose the Open a Report action, and we'll select our invoice report. So we'll just type in SSRS to filter quickly. We'll choose the invoice report, and we can see now that Alpha Anywhere has determined that this report has parameters, and the parameter is called My Customer ID. So we'll go here and say set argument value, and we'll say that the argument value comes from this input control called customer ID. So we'll go ahead there, click OK, and we'll again choose the HTML format for this report. So we'll go and click OK now, hit the save button, and now we'll go and preview our report. So we'll go over here and type in a customer ID, and then hit the button to preview the report. So there's our report now for Bollard. So in this particular case, we had to type in the customer ID by hand, but of course since the customer ID is an available field in the customer table from the sample Northwind database, let's go ahead now and change customer ID from a text box into a drop-down box. And then we'll go to the choices, and we'll say that the choices are dynamic, and we'll go ahead now and choose a connection string. So we'll choose the same connection string that the SQL Server reporting server is using, so SQL Server Northwinds, and then we'll specify that we want to do a query against the customer table, and the field that we'd like to display is customer ID. So now we can go ahead now and run this component. We'll choose now say that customer, and now go ahead and print the report, and you can see now we've basically displayed the report for that particular customer. So we've integrated the SQL Server Reporting Services report into our Alpha Anywhere project seamlessly, and it operates exactly as any Alpha Anywhere report would work. Thanks very much. This video shows how a report can be created in Microsoft SQL Server Reporting Services and then used in an Alpha Anywhere project. So I'm going to go now and open up Visual Studio, and I'm going to then create a report in Visual Studio that I can then use in my Alpha Anywhere project. So I've got Visual Studio open right now, and I'm going to go now and open up a recent project. So we'll go here and open up this report project, and you can see that once the project opens up, there's a whole bunch of existing reports that have been previously created. I've also got a data source called Northwind that I've previously created that points to my SQL Server sample Northwind database. So let's go here now and say add a new report. And actually I should just point out that if you're an Access developer and you've got existing reports in Access that you'd like to import, you can use Visual Studio's Import Reports feature over here. So let's go ahead now and just create a new report, and we'll use the wizard over here. We'll select our data source that was previously configured, and we'll go ahead now and just type in the query for our report. So I'm going to just do a query that does a select from the sample customer table. So we'll go ahead there and paste in that query over there, go next, choose the type of report that we want. We want a tabular report, and then we'll say that basically we want a group by country, and then we want customer ID, contact name, company name, and city in the report itself. We'll go next. We'll choose the stepped style, and then we'll go ahead here and say customer list 2, and then go ahead then and click finish. So we can see now that there's our report in the Visual Studio design pane. We can switch over to preview to run the report. So you can see that Visual Studio basically has run the report over here, and we can go there and save the report. So now that the report has been created, we are now in a position that we can then deploy this report to the SQL Server reporting services, and then go back to Alpha Anywhere and link it in. So let's go now to this report. We'll right click on it and we'll say build, and then after the build is completed, we're going to go ahead here and say deploy. So the deploy succeeded, and we can now go back to Alpha Anywhere over here, and here's our list of reports in Alpha Anywhere. So we'll go here and say new link. We'll choose our connection string that points to our SQL Server reporting services, and there's our report that we just created. We'll go ahead there and link it in, and we'll just accept the defaults here. And so now we have a new report listed in the Alpha Anywhere Web Projects control panel that was just created in SQL Server reporting services. So if I go there, right click and say preview, we can basically see that the report is previewed, and there's the data from our report. So basically creating reports in SQL Server reporting services is fairly straightforward. There's a lot of material on the web that describes how to do that, and then once you've done that, using those reports in an Alpha Anywhere project is very easy. Thanks very much for watching.